The birth of my two daughters, Sophia and Hema, have brought to my life unparalleled joy, meaning, and purpose. There's nothing more precious to me than my family. My heart is full because I am a father. I've never had the anxiety of wondering, are they going to eat today? That has never crossed my mind. I've never heard their stomachs rumble. I've never heard them cry from hunger. I've never felt their skin go cold because they slipped away from starvation. I am very lucky that way. In 2022, the World Health Organization and UNICEF categorized 148 million children as stunting. That means they stopped growing. They categorized another 45 million as wasting. Those children appear to be getting smaller. 3 million of those children died before the end of that year in the most miserable way. That's not a faraway problem. Today, in these great United States, and they are great, 1 out of 5 children suffers from food insecurity. To put that into perspective, that's about 60 of you fine people, and every one of us. I ask you to think ahead to 2050 when we're looking at 9.7 billion people scheduled to be on Earth. What will food insecurity look like then? Will these ratios go up? Will we see the stunting and the wasting on our land? Today's food security relies on 3 things: natural resources, favorable conditions, and viable farmland. Since 1997, U.S. farmland has decreased by 8%, while the population has grown by 26%. That seems like such an unsustainable trend. So I think, what is it going to look like in 2050? We need a more secure way to produce food. In this country, every year, natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, and droughts cost about $3.4 billion, like I said, annually. The changing weather and its dynamics are just too unpredictable to solve for. We're not getting it yet. So how do we produce food for an ever-growing population? Or do we just figure it out later? Our supply chain is a very delicate thing. We need to decrease the volatility in it. Volatility in our supply chain often looks like empty shelves. But what also happens is we get recalls. Volatility inevitably means the prices go up while the quality and safety goes down. So, how do we feed 9.7 billion people? How do we safely produce food in spite of our changing Earth? And how do we produce food in lieu of our volatile supply chain? Let me introduce you to precision fermentation. Precision fermentation is a process of creating food without the constraints of nature's blessing, without the constraints of a growing population, and without the constraints of disruptive distribution systems. Precision fermentation is a viable way to support traditional farming. Traditional farming has such huge stress on our available natural resources. I would like to introduce you to my team. That's Angie Silva from Winco Foods, Julia McMeekin from Niagara Bottling, Sean Robertson from Albertson Safeway. I am Francisco Miguel Gonzalez from Northgate Markets. Together, we are Ferment 4ward, and we have, believe it or not, 80 years of industry experience. So I'm asking you, the food industry, help scale precision fermentation. Commit, invest, and ultimately champion the science that can save lives with a real business approach. Today, you will learn about the process of precision fermentation, You will learn about the cost parity and scale. You will understand the benefits to its people of this earth, to the supply chain, and to our available natural resources. We have prepared a very short video for you. Let's watch it now, please.
Fundamentally, precision fermentation consists of just a few steps. We give the microbes instructions for how to produce the desired product. We place the modified host in a bioreactor and give it all the nutrients it needs. When it's time to collect the product of interest, it's separated from the production host and purified. Finally, testing ensures that the product is free from contaminants and bacteria, has been separated from the microbes that produced it, and is safe for consumption.
What we just saw was precision fermentation in action, a technology changing how ingredients we put in everyday products are produced. Many of you may have already used a product created by precision fermentation without even knowing. Maybe it was in that vitamin you took this morning, that protein shake, or the insulin that many use to manage diabetes. These products are all possible through precision fermentation. And we've been reaping the benefits of precision fermentation, also known as PF, for decades. So what exactly is precision fermentation? It's like beer brewing, but for proteins. Just like craft brewers carefully select yeast strains to create unique beer flavors, precision fermentation uses catalysts such as yeast, instructing them to create specific compounds. Instead of the yeast being fed malt, like in traditional beer brewing, the yeast is fed sugars and then placed into fermenters, where it works to convert these sugars into the desired ingredient. The last step consists of the yeast being separated from the desired ingredient, leaving just pure ingredient. The result, an ingredient used for products like omega-3s and cheeses. Yes, cheeses. Did you know that 95% of rennet used in cheese making today comes from precision fermentation and not calf stomachs? Same delicious taste, same texture that we all love, much similar to traditional fermented products, kimchi and sourdough. But wait, that's not the best part. The best part is that precision fermentation can take up to 6 to 10 days, compared to months in traditional crops or years in animal farming. For instance, precision fermentation can create dairy proteins like milk in just a matter of days, while a dairy cow, well, it can take up to 2 years to produce milk. And the precision fermentation milk has the same quality, same nutrients and flavor that we enjoy with no GMO and a longer shelf life. So this brings us to the powerhouses that are influencing precision fermentation. Industry giants like Nestle, Grupo Bimbo, Unilever, and AB InBev have all partnered with precision fermentation companies like Ubali and Perfect Day, creating products like Cowabunga, Better Way, lactose-free chocolate dessert by Breyers, and Kroger is selling that product in most of their stores. And let's not forget about the other companies, Cargill, Nourish Ingredients, Fonterra, and Leprino. These companies have all also incorporated precision fermentation in their products. This leaves me to highlight a partnership that showcases why this is significant. Remember when egg prices skyrocketed? Well, businesses suffered and families struggled to afford this breakfast staple. AB InBev, the world's largest brewer, saw a solution and partnered with the Every Company, who created an egg protein without the use of chickens, just precision fermentation. So this brings me to an exciting question. What does this mean for your businesses? Precision fermentation gives your businesses an opportunity to create innovative, creative products, and maybe that could be even a private label line. I know, you're probably wondering, but what are the benefits? Well, let me give you 3 major benefits. 1, sustainability, year-round availability. 2, volatility reduction, stabilizing price reduction. 3, food security. It's reliable, it's efficient, and it could help with our growing population. You see, precision fermentation isn't just theoretical. It is showing financial investment. As you can see behind me, the market is projected to reach $30.4 billion by 2031. That's a 40.1% CAGR. And North America, well, it's already leading that market, with the US at the forefront taking 40.4% of that market share. If you take anything from what I've said today, remember that precision fermentation isn't just promising. It's here, and it is a solution to the challenges that our food industry is seeing today.
Let's follow the money trail to show you just how significant this technology is becoming. $4.8 billion. That's how much has been invested in fermentation in just the last 5 years. That's including nearly $100 million in just the past 4 months. This is representing a hot trend in food tech today. But it's not just small visionary companies like Perfect Day or the Every Company. Big players like Nestle and Unilever are investing in precision fermentation technology, ingredients, and products to fill their portfolios. This is not going to be a passing trend. This is representing a fundamental shift in the way the food of the future is going to be made. These companies see a way to do more with less, and at the same time, they're gaining a competitive advantage. But it's also a solution to another issue that's facing our industry today, and that's the volatility of our supply chain. We've all seen what happens when our food system fails. Recalls due to bacterial contamination are up 40% year over year, with an average cost of up to $10 million per recall. The avian flu cost the poultry industry over $1.4 billion, and we were all impacted by the empty shelves and the higher prices in our stores. Extreme weather-related events can cripple our supply chain, and new studies suggest that over the next 15 years, we'll have even more weather-related supply chain disruptions than ever before. Now imagine something different. With precision fermentation, we can produce food regardless of the weather, build facilities anywhere in the world with almost 0% chance of the kind of contamination that leads to those recalls. That's the power of precision fermentation. It reduces the volatility in our supply chain. It gives us consistency, stability, and reliability. And while our supply chain is vulnerable, it's also inefficient. I want you to think of a dairy cow for a moment. When the cow eats, only 17% of that energy is converted to the milk that we drink. The other 83% is just to keep the animal alive. That's like putting 10 gallons of gas in your car and losing just over 8 before you even start the engine. How are we supposed to feed a planet of 9.7 billion people with a system this wasteful? With precision fermentation, we get a more efficient output, reduced production times, and nutrition profiles we can control and even enhance. Dairy proteins created using precision fermentation generate up to 72% less greenhouse gas emissions, use up to 99% less land, and 81% less water. And while this is great for the environment, you're probably wondering about the money, because at the end of the day, that's what matters for our businesses. To put it in perspective, 25 years ago, it would have cost $450,000 to create 1 pound of protein using precision fermentation. Today, it's between $9 and $27, and currently the race is on to get to $450, which experts predict will happen within the next 5 years. But we can only do this through scale. For manufacturers, building new facilities could cost between $50 and $100 million and take 2 to 5 years to be up and running. But if you remember what AB InBev is doing, retrofitting existing facilities could save up to 40% in startup costs and be up and running in half the time. I know that the initial cost may seem high, but what we can't ignore is the volatility in traditional commodity pricing. And I'm sure we all could have used a little bit of consistency with the egg pricing the past several months. I want you to consider Northgate Markets for a second. Producing and selling 10,000 units of flan a week. Hit with skyrocketing egg prices, lost 30% in sales and 16% profits on that one item. We're not saying that we want to replace all animal-derived food products, but for the retailers and CPG companies out there, let's look for ways to incorporate precision fermentation ingredients into your products. especially for those high-value, high-velocity ingredients. We've already reached cost parity in the pharmaceutical and cosmetic industries, and if we're really serious about food security and long-term profitability, the time to act is now. Let's fuel the future of food.
And with that, there is a clear B2B benefit. But what does the consumer think? Are they willing to buy it? Well, spoiler alert, not many people have even heard of precision fermentation, or PF for short. In fact, less than 13% of Americans are familiar with the term. You were probably shocked to find out you're already consuming it, whether it was the cheese last night or the vitamins this morning. But as people start to familiarize themselves with it, there are two major markets that emerge: millennials and Gen Z. And within them, 85% are willing to try. So let's take a look at the data. On one hand, not many people have ever heard of precision fermentation. But on the other hand, almost everyone is at least willing to try. And when you can give them the benefits to their health, to the environment, to animal welfare, that boosts willingness to try by another 10–12%. And once they try, now they're hooked. Because an output using precision fermentation is bio-identical to the original. This means that from a taste and texture point of view, it's exactly the same. So let me make this tangible with an example. A glass of milk using precision fermentation, legally, we can call it animal-free, even vegan. But I cannot call it dairy-free. And that's because genetically, it's exactly the same. Let me give you one more example. An egg. On one hand, we have a standard egg. I think it's fair to say we've had our frustrations in the supply chain getting it on the shelf. It's costing me an arm and a leg, and I want the protein, but not necessarily the cholesterol. Not to mention, I've seen too many videos of those horrible chicken conditions. But what if I could give you a PF egg? And in this egg, I could assure you no animal was harmed, that it is a clean label, non-GMO, that you don't have to sacrifice on taste, and most of all, you could always trust that it will be on the shelf. The consensus is clear. People are curious, they're interested, and they want to try it. And they're not the only ones. Governments and regulatory bodies also like precision fermentation. They see this as a fast-track solution to achieving their climate goals and national food security measures. In fact, they're giving a number of grants to many companies. You see in the map behind me, there are a number of different countries listed. They have all already started the regulatory approval process. The ones marked in green have been successful. The US here is again leading the way. The FDA has already approved precision fermentation as a generally recognized as safe food product. This means it's a fast, self-affirming, no questions asked process. So today, we're here to shift the conversation and let you know that regulations will not be an issue. So there you have it. Today, we started our journey into precision fermentation together. We shared a number of benefits. From a company perspective, it reduces your volatility. It reduces your risk. It increases your efficiency, stabilizes costs, and even helps with national food security measures. On a personal level, it's good for the environment, the health of animals, my own personal health. Also, it has the reliability of good taste and always going to be on the shelf. But today, we are here to ask you for help on one more factor, and that is cost. Help us scale PF so that we can bring the cost down to $4.50 a pound. The pharmaceutical industry has already done this successfully, and we believe that the time for the food industry is now. The big players have already seen the writing on the wall, and that's why they're investing now. They're trying to get that early competitive advantage. But after all, we are in the people industry, so we're bringing this to everyone's attention so that we can benefit as an industry. Today, we are not bringing a what, but a how. How can we better sustainably produce food of the future? So for all the CPG in the room, we are asking you to invest. Partner with startups if you need to. For all the retailers in the room, we're asking you to stock it. Use it as a private label solution. For the consumers, which we all are, let's continue to learn and familiarize ourselves with it. For the policymakers, continue to support it. Today, we started our PF journey, and we are asking you as an industry to commit to scaling PF. Commit now, and in the next 24 hours, start that conversation. Reach out to friends, to family, colleagues, bosses, partners, and let's get this started together. Thank you, and we'll take any questions. I think.
Good job, team. Just I have a quick question here. I heard the cost portion that goes across quite a bit. For facilities, 50 to 100 million. And as you think about consumers' wallets are tight and we have low margin, and you mentioned scaling, have you done any type of research where if you're not able to scale, what would that cost look like with PF versus what we conventionally have on the shelf for maybe cheese or yogurt or milk? And if you can't scale right away, how are you going to pass that cost to the consumers, or how is that going to look for a company?
So the way we see it is the easiest way to benefit as a society is to all invest. That's why we also see there's a lot of support from the government, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it is the choice of the retailers. We have seen some retailers already pass that extra cost to the consumer because they want to get it on the shelf now. So for example, there are protein powders today that are using precision fermentation, and they'll be a little bit more expensive, and consumers are still willing to pay for it.
Thank you.